Chapter 906. There's a ditch in the snow. This was just an in-game event, so there was no reason for none dare attack and lower your head to wait for Steam Bun Invasion to arrive. It would be more reasonable if they took this chance while Lord Grimm was alone to gang up on him. However, neither of them did that and instead they actually waited. They had always thought that Yi Shu was afraid of losing face as a god of glory if he lost to them, and that's why he had been afraid to seek them out until now. However, when had Yi Shu actually cared about his identity as a god? He had always operated according to what was reasonable and logically. If Yi Shu was in their shoes, he would have long since taken advantage of their lack of backup to strike, unless he had some sort of other goal. It was these two, who hadn't even become official pro players yet, that had already begun to take pride in their desired status. The two were poised for battle. All that was left was for Steam Bun Invasion's arrival. Sorry about being late. Steam Bun Invasion was quick about getting here. As he arrived, so did his voice, and his brick. The two knew that Steam Bun Invasion was coming, but his sudden attack was out of their expectations. Though his brick didn't hit anyone, Lower Your Head's dodge was hasty and rushed. Let's hurry it up. It'll be troublesome if other groups interfere. Yi Shu as Lord Grimm swung the Myriad Manifestations umbrella down from over his head, attacking rapidly with a Gatling gun. The continuous stream of bullets flew at Lower Your Head. She was about to yell at Steam Bun Invasion for his rude surprise attack, completely unprepared for Yi Shu to follow suit so quickly. She ended up unable to dodge the Gatling gun. Gatling gun produced a stream of bullets. Experienced players wouldn't miss a single shot after hitting their target a single time. Yi Shu was, of course, counted among these experienced players and unloaded all of Gatling gun's 20 bullets into Lower Your Head. However, as a low-leveled skill, it didn't deal that much damage. It was just when someone was hit by the continuous firing, their character would be affected by the impact of the bullets, looking as if they were having an epileptic seizure. It wasn't a pretty sight. The two, prideful of what they were going to be, couldn't take this humiliating beating. Despicable, none dare attack, yelled as she returned fire. The bullets flew, but Lord Grimm opened up his umbrella and used it as a shield against damage as he closed in. Lower Your Head was even more furious, being the target of the attack, but she hadn't let it get to her head, deciding against taking immediate revenge and instead aiming for the other target, Steam Bun Invasion. Lower Your Head rolled behind none dare attack, kneeling with her gun ready to shoot. However, all she could see in front of her was the stretch of white snow and not a hint of Steam Bun Invasion. Lower Your Head turned in a full circle, but still did not see Steam Bun Invasion at all. However, there were plenty of small snow piles and ditches on this map. It wasn't hard for a character to hide among this, so Lower Your Head started to take note of these piles and ditches, shooting at them in an attempt to scare Steam Bun Invasion out of hiding. On the other side, none dare attack was getting closed in on by Lord Grimm, who charged forwards her with his Myriad Manifestations umbrella. Gunners, even a sharpshooters that possessed close combat abilities, would never easily allow an opponent close in on them. None dare attack continued firing as she backed away using aerial fire, drawing out the distance between them. The two were very in sync with each other. As none dare attack backed away, Lower Your Head didn't need any prompting to follow her movements, retreating at a 45 degrees angle with none dare attack's line of retreat. Yet that was when Lord Grimm suddenly gave up on pursuing none dare attack, using shadow clone technique and leaving his shadow behind as he charged towards Lower Your Head. Lower Your Head hastily turned to attack him. Lord Grimm sprinted across the map, pulling Lower Your Head's view with him. As she turned to face opposite of none dare attack, she heard the sound of laughter behind her. What's happening? Lower Your Head could tell that this laugh probably belonged to Steam Bun Invasion, but didn't dare to turn around, afraid that she would expose an opening to Lord Grimm. She could only ask. It's an invisibility cloak. None dare attack's disappointed voice came from behind her. Currently, she had been grabbed by Steam Bun Invasion's strangle. Ayo, your voice, you're a girl right? Steam Bun asked with delight. Quote. Are you cute? Steam Bun asked excitedly. Quote. Collapsing mountain. Lord Grimm had managed to close in on Lower Your Head as he circled around, dodging her shots. Now, he had unsheathed his sword, swinging down from overhead with a collapsing mountain. However, the two characters weren't that close, so Lower Your Head had plenty of time to dodge the blow. Yet Lord Grim didn't end his attacks there. His sword struck the ground, sending out shockwaves that blasted a small circle in the snow. The flurry of snow erupted, obscuring the characters from seeing each other. Using the cover from this flurry of snow, Lord Grim used Slide Kick, sliding straight through the snow and hiding the direction in which he aimed to slide in. Lower Your Head didn't dare to let down her guard, hurriedly jumping back. Her guns were raised and her eyes were glued to the ground in front of her, prepared to shoot without hesitation at the slightest movement. Yet, there was no movement at all. By then, the snowflakes had begun to settle again, and Lower Your Head realized that Lord Grim's strike hadn't been directed at her at all. She turned her view and saw Lord Grim jumping out of the snow at the end of his slide kick, his myriad manifestations umbrella turning into a spear as he swung a sky strike straight at None Dare Attack. That was just as Steam Bun Invasion's strangle ended. As soon as he let go, None Dare Attack was thrown into the air. The two chased after the airborne None Dare Attack, unleashing a furious barrage of attacks at her. Lower Your Head hurriedly charged over to save her, and None Dare Attack was also trying to save herself. Figuring out their path, she raised her guns, preparing to use an aerial fire to forcefully leave their attack range. Who would have known that Lord Grim's spear would be even faster than her bullets, managing to stab her before she was able to shoot, swinging her around in an arc with a circle swing, bringing None Dare Attack back onto the ground. Then, None Dare Attack suddenly disappeared. Lower Your Head startled at seeing this, but it wasn't possible for None Dare Attack to die so quickly. She had probably just been buried under the snow. Lower Your Head raised her guns and shot wildly, hoping to give None Dare Attack a chance to escape. It was then that Lord Grim and Steam Bun Invasion also disappeared into the snow and Lower Your Head's bullets missed. Lower Your Head was at a complete loss. The snow wasn't that deep to allow a whole person to disappear just like that. Even lying down, there would still be a hint as to where they had gone. Yet just now, 3 characters had completely disappeared under the snow. Lower Your Head shot wildly at that direction again. Snow flew, but the 3 were really gone. What on earth? Lower Your Head finally couldn't help but ask. Her words exposed her cluelessness, and that wasn't something these 2 prideful people were willing to do, but she couldn't care about that now. There's a ditch. None Dare Attack's answer was filled with helplessness. That's right, the situation that had Lower Your Head at a loss was just because of a ditch in the snow. Lord Grim's circle swing had thrown her None Dare Attack into the ditch, and then him and Steam Bun Invasion had jumped in after her as well. The ditch wasn't big, and the 3 characters were squished together, with barely any space to move at all. This was a very bad situation for a sharpshooter, especially since it was 2 against 1. None Dare Attack wanted to cry, hoping that her partner would come and save her. Lower Your Head started upon hearing the answer before she realized what had happened and quickly threw a hand grenade in that direction. However, the grenade hadn't even landed when there was a gunshot and it was destroyed by Lord Grim before it even landed. Lower Your Head felt depressed. She wished that she was a launcher at that moment. That way, all she needed was a satellite beam or a heat-seeking missiles or a stinger to make the 2 holed up in the ditch regret their decisions. And now, as a sharpshooter, all she could do was jump up as high as she could and shoot a stream of bullets at the ditch after finding a good angle. Yet when the bullets flew out, an umbrella opened up over the exposed opening with a whoosh. It was Lord Grim's myriad manifestations umbrella that had opened up in shield form. A shield couldn't completely prevent damage, but it could greatly reduce the amount of damage taken. Though Lower Your Head didn't know the stats of the shield form of the myriad manifestations umbrella, she knew she couldn't beat a character in DPS while they had a shield up. It would definitely be None Dare Attack who would die faster. This situation wasn't one that Lower Your Head had ever experienced before. She had no idea what to do at all. Her character landed helplessly from her jump. On the party information window, Lower Your Head could see None Dare Attack's health draining away rapidly, helpless in the ditch. Lower Your Head didn't have any ideas left and could only approach the ditch as she jumped and shot. By the time she got close enough to the ditch, she would be able to freely send her attacks down, and that would be enough to save None Dare Attack, right? It was unfortunate that she never got the chance to. Seeing her charge towards the ditch, Lord Grim jumped up with his myriad manifestations umbrella open. The umbrella that was bigger than most shields and hovered wildly in front of Lower Your Head, and in that moment she felt like it was as if she had been blinded. This was a common tactic used by knights, and Lower Your Head obviously knew the best way to counter it was to pull away. Pulling away was something that a gunner would like nothing more than to do, yet Lower Your Head was currently very unwilling. She raised her guns and jumped, actually wanting to jump over the Myriad Manifestations umbrella. This idea was more than a little too bold. It might work against a less skilled opponent, otherwise it could only be counted as a surprising move. However, in front of the very, very experienced Yi Shu, this decision wasn't something so obscure that it would surprise him. Lower Your Head's head had just peeked over the top when the Myriad Manifestations umbrella was already changing forms, breaking into two nunchucks. Lord Grimm stepped forwards, using his hands to grab the jumping Lower Your Head and bending back. With a back throw, Lower Your Head was tossed into the ditch, too. Chapter 907. Ditch Kill. Back throw, as a grab, had the effect of forcing the target to the ground. However, due to the terrain, there was a space between where the back throw ended and the ground, causing the effects of back throw to pass before impact. Lower Your Head was, of course, clear on this special quirk of back throw. As back throw ended, tossing her towards the ditch, she immediately adjusted herself, firing in an attempt to use aerial fire to change her path, get out from the control of this back throw and away from danger. Who would have thought that the moment she wanted to shoot, a figure would jump out from the ditch? As she fell, the figure ascended, and by the time a gunshot actually ran out, the figure had stomped down on her with a foot. After that foot came down, another foot came down, and then another, and then another, and another. Steamed Bun Invasion Striker Skill Eagle Stamp had obviously been maxed out, allowing him to stomp down on her a full 5 times. By the time he was done, Lower Your Head had long since been stomped to the bottom of the ditch, unable to even cry. Beside her, None Dare Attack only had half her health left, looking very pitiful. However, the current Lower Your Head couldn't even secure her own safety. She didn't have the time to worry about None Dare Attack. She hastily attempted to adjust her view, which had been messed up by Steamed Bun Invasion's 5 stomps. Suddenly, a shadow descended and her view, which she had just raised towards the sky, was blocked. Lord Grimm, the flashy guy, had actually opened his Myriad Manifestations umbrella to jump into the ditch. Was there any need for a parachute for jumping just the height of this small ditch? Yet in the next second, Lower Your Head knew her judgment was wrong. Lord Grimm wasn't doing this out of boredom, there was an actual reason behind the opening of his umbrella. Under the changing light, a hand grenade fell from who knew where. By the time Lower Your Head noticed it, the grenade had already exploded. And how could they avoid it while trapped in this narrow ditch? A low-leveled hand grenade managed to blast the 2 self-proclaimed experts Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack right off their feet. Looking up again, they saw that Lord Grimm hadn't actually jumped in. All he had done was shake his open umbrella over the ditch, just to throw that hand grenade down. Not only had he not come down, but Steamed Bun Invasion had also jumped out after the 5 stamps. Just as Lord Grimm's grenade explosion died down, Steamed Bun Invasion threw something down as well. It looked to be a beer bottle. However, Glory players knew that, while this was a beer bottle, it wasn't beer inside, but petroleum. Brawler skills were really just that low. If it was a hand grenade, skilled players could at least shoot and destroy it before it hit upon noticing it. As for a petrol bottle? If it was shot, no one could say for certain what the result would be. Yet no matter what, this uncertain result was better than getting hit and set ablaze. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack had the same thought and the same rhythm to their attacks. 2 gunshots rang out at practically the same time. The petrol bottle was destroyed in midair and the petrol that splashed out turned into small fireballs, streaking down at the walls and floor of the ditch. The 2 did their best to dodge, but it was only then that they realized the petrol bottle was just a distraction, like how Lord Grimm had opened his umbrella up over the ditch. Their true offense was only just beginning with this. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were clear on what sort of disadvantage they were at, impatient to jump out from the ditch. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to fight back at all. This ditch was obviously something Lord Grimm's duo had carefully picked. There were millions of ditches on this map, some shallow and some deep. Some shallow ones didn't even come up to their knees. A deep one like this, that could hold an entire person, was like a well. This was probably as deep as it could go. They had gotten to this area first. Lord Grimm seemed like he had been following them all this way. This ditch couldn't be a part of some sort of premeditated plan, could it? That meant that Lord Grimm had found this special aspect in the terrain in the short amount of time he had been here, and now he was going to easily kill them in this ditch right here. These two wouldn't accept this so easily. The two had the same thought, raising their guns and firing wildly at the sides of the ditch, attempting to force the two to back off. The two above them backed away from this attack, as expected. The two in the ditch took this chance to jump up, one after the other. They didn't think to jump out together, but in a way that they could support each other to cover for one person's escape first. Lower Your Head, who was slightly faster with her jump, was primarily focused on providing cover. As her body rose out from the ditch, she didn't bother to use aerial fire to aid her escape, but turned to sweep the two with her bullets in an attempt to force them even further back. Yet by the time the bullets began to fly, another character had also arrived. Lord Grimm, sword in hand, came down heavily with a collapsing mountain. The airborne Lower Your Head had no way of dodging this attack. She could only use the momentum from her firing to twist her character around a little. She didn't want to crash into none dare attack while falling and take her down with her. She wanted to use herself as bait for this attack and aid none dare attack in a successful escape. In the end, it was all just wishful thinking. Collapsing mountain accurately hit her body and Lower Your Head began to fall. Seeing that her fall hadn't affected none dare attack, she was delighted, only to see the remainder of the collapsing mountain just manage to touch none dare attack. Just this slight contact, collapsing mountain's priority still managed to beat none dare attack's jump. The two of them had a plan for their escape, covering for each other as they jumped from the ditch, yet all this was defeated with one skill from Lord Grimm. The precision of this slash was something neither of them were expecting at all. The two, falling back into the ditch, received another vicious beating. However, they didn't have any choice except to try and jump out. Yet each time they tried, their plans were foiled. They were trying their hardest, but it looked more like they were struggling. They were screwed. That was the premonition the helplessly struggling two had, and it was a very depressing one. Disregarding how easily the 18 stockings that they had worked hard on collecting were going to end up in someone else's hands, just the battle was enough to make them cough up blood. If they were fighting on flat ground, there was no way they would lose in such an ugly way. They couldn't accept this. The two weren't willing to accept this result at all, but in the end they never yelled out, "Let us out if you dare," or something equally immature. The two gritted their teeth, continuing to fight and charge and eventually get knocked back down. This continued until they fell one after the other, dropping a ditch full of socks. "Quick," Yi Shu called out. Steamed bun invasion darted into the ditch and the announcements came in a rapid stream. 18 pairs of socks quickly found an owner and Lord Grimm had also swiftly picked up the pair he had thrown to the ground before. The 19 successive announcements made the players dizzy before the 120-second countdown popped up. At this moment, Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were anxious and impatiently waiting to revive at the revival point. The two were too depressed to speak, staying silent together. They saw that they only had 120 seconds, and they had to wait 20 to revive. Even if they didn't had to wait 20 seconds, they could only go and hope that they would be like a blind cat that found a dead rat asterisk. Let's split up. The two weren't willing to give up, each running in a different direction after the 20 seconds to revive were up. However, they made sure to consider the possible places Lord Grimm and Steamed Bun Invasion could have gone in those 20 seconds. How would it only be them who were looking for Lord Grimm and Steamed Bun Invasion? All other 48 players on the map didn't have any socks, crazily searching for the two. Everyone charged around. There were many people running around like headless chickens, but no one had managed to come across these two yet. A minute and a half. A minute. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. As time slipped by, their hope diminished. In the remaining time, even if they were able to find the two, who had the confidence that they would be able to defeat the two in this limited amount of time? More and more groups gave up and in the last 10 seconds, only Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were still running around the map. Their names were for their opponents, but also to remind themselves. They wanted their opponents to lower their heads to them, to fear attacking them. But they themselves would never lower their heads, always fight to the end even if they only had the chance to take one last strike. Don't run, let's settle this. In the last 10 seconds, Lower Your Head sent such a message to Lord Grimm. You guys have already lost, Lord Grimm replied with a smiley face. Again, Lower Your Head didn't deny the results of this round, she just expressed their unwillingness to give in. We're out of attempts, Lord Grim replied. Lower your head, coughed Blood. Who said they wanted to use stockings to settle this? The event was too random. Even if they wanted to, they had to wait and see if the random number god *** was on their side or not. Arena, lower your head, yelled. No time, Lord Grim replied. Quote. Unless what? Unless you're willing to join Team Happy, then we'll have time for as many rounds as you want, Lord Grim answered with a smile. That's a totally different thing. Lower your head was evidently unwilling to make careless decisions about their future. Or how about a bet? If you lose, then join Happy, Lord Grim suggested. We won't bet our future on something like this. Lower your head was hot-headed about settling things in a match with Yi Chu, but at times like this she was very calm and rational. This round of the event ended and Lord Grim and Steamed Bun's perfect victory was announced on TV, as well as how they got the rewards for a perfect victory. Even with this, Lower Your Head didn't let it get to her head. Then see you in the future, Lord Grim replied then. Lower Your Head wanted to continue to speak, but found out that Lord Grim had already logged out. Meeting these two in this event didn't cause any sort of waves in Yishu's mind. After using the 3 chances on his main account, he switched to a side account and completed the event another 3 times. Everything followed the routine. Except the mission: enter the map, open the party list, look at the parties. This future. Isn't it arriving a little too quickly? Yi Shu found, wide-eyed and surprised. Lower Your Head and none dare attack's names in the party list. Yet, at the same time, he found some even more terrifying opponents. How challenging. Chapter 908. Watch from a distance a fight between tigers. Yi Shu and Steamed Bun had already switched to their alternates. In between, Steamed Bun Invasion spent some time switching his equipment over. When they accepted the event quest again, they unexpectedly bumped into None Dare Attack and Lower Your Head again. At the same time, Yi Shu also noticed another team. Excellent Dynasty's team. This team currently still had 53 stockings. This round would probably also be their first round today. From this team's composition, this team was undoubtedly Excellent Era's pro team. There was no need to question the strength of this team. Even if Wei Chen's team had a higher total stocking count than them yesterday night, that definitely didn't mean Wei Chen's team could claim superiority to Excellent Era's team. Of course, that only applied if Wei Chen wasn't being shameless. For someone like Wei Chen, lying through his teeth was way too easy. You guys sure did run into trouble this time. Chen Guo had felt extremely pleased when Yi Shu buried alive None Dare Attack and Lower Your Head last round. This round, she saw that Yi Shu had once again encountered these two players. Just when she was excited, she saw there was also Excellent Era's pro team and immediately turned serious. Wei Chen heard the news and turned his head. He saw the situation and said even more seriously to Yi Shu, what a good opportunity. Give them a good beating on my behalf. Wei Chen's words were obviously aimed at Excellent Era's team. Their 3 rounds today didn't go as well as their 3 rounds had yesterday. They only acquired a total of 52 stockings total. If Excellent Era's team had a bit of luck and obtained over 54 stockings, Wei Chen's team wouldn't be able to keep their spot as first place. Right now, this team was their only competitor. Even Wei Chen's alternate team didn't have such an exceptional record, making Wei Chen only feel more uneasy. Their alternate team had switched equipment too, so the strength of their alternate team and the strength of their main team were pretty close. Yet they weren't able to replicate their main team's stocking total, showing that this event quest had many variables involved. Wei Chen's main team had completed their 3 rounds today. Their stocking total wasn't too incredible either, which was why they were so nervous. Seeing that Excellent Era's team had come across Yi Shu, Wei Chen was in high spirits. Yeah, pass me a cigarette, Yi Shu said. Here, I'll even light it for you. The current Wei Chen didn't taunt Yi Shu like he usually did and instead was very polite. What a coincidence, Yi Shu said with a cigarette in his mouth. I chose a mechanic and I bump into Xiao Shikan. With Boss Yi's ability, a trifling Xiao Shikan is nothing to be feared, Wei Chen said. Stop making so much noise. Go play on your alternate, Yi Shu said. Yes. Wei Chen immediately returned to his team and continued instructing his team properly. The personality change was so fast that Chen Guo could only gasp in amazement. Steamed Bun, let's do this. It's starting, Yi Shu shouted. 50 players had finally gathered for this event. There were no other special newcomers. The system had begun counting down. Understood, Steam Bun's spirit rose. Let's check the situation first, Yi Shu said. The two players entered the map and casually strolled around, waiting for the situation to develop. As for the other players, when they saw the list of other teams participating, they cried as if they had lost their parents. Bumping into just one freak team was enough, but they had actually encountered two. They didn't know that the mechanic, Listen Promise, and the brawler, Rain, were actually another freak team using their alternates. This time, the map was still snowy, but there was no heavy snowstorm that blocked their vision, nor was the blinding sun. The map was a small village wrapped in silver white. The stockings could be on the streets, inside the buildings, or on the roofs. Yi Shu and Steam Bun weren't in a hurry to search for stockings. After wandering around, Yi Shu found a particular roof and immediately headed towards there. 2 minutes had already passed, yet there were still no stockings found. No one knew if it was because the other players had already been struck a blow and remained passive. Yi Shu's Listen Promise jumped onto that roof and the first system notification had appeared. The first stocking had been picked up by a normal player from a normal team. Then again, it had only been 20 days since the new level cap had been released. Those who could level to 75 definitely weren't ordinary. Unfortunately, their opponents were too strong this time. No matter how fast they leveled, they could only be considered ordinary. When the first stocking was picked up, the system chat stopped remaining calm. After all, not everyone was passive though. For example, none dare attack and lower your head wouldn't remain passive when facing Excellent Era's team. They might treat them like a test of skill. Notifications began popping up again and again. Of the 10 stockings, 5 were quickly found. Excellent Era's team and the lower your head duo still hadn't appeared. Who knew if it was because the two freak teams were not making any moves boosted the morale of everyone else? A small tide of notifications crashed into the chat. 2 stockings had been picked up simultaneously. A fight had clearly broken out. 12 stockings had spawned so far and 7 had been acquired already. 8th, 9th, 10th. It seems as if the various teams had awakened. Their progress suddenly increased rapidly. In the blink of an eye, the total stockings acquired went from 7 to 10. Among these, Excellent Era's team finally revealed themselves. Through a non-combat way, they had found a stocking. None of them are in a hurry to act. How patient, Yi Shu sighed. Yi Shu had tried the strategy of letting the opponent strike first before striking too, but that strategy didn't work for every situation. You needed to have a certain grasp of the location of the stockings, so you would have a certain level of control, but in their situation? 10 stockings were scattered among 8 teams. The stockings weren't concentrated on a team, so striking first or striking last didn't make a difference. Xiao Shiken obviously wasn't so stupid as to not understand this simple line of reasoning. Yi Shu reckoned that after he saw none dare attack and lower your head, he adopted a wait-and-see strategy, or perhaps do the same as Yi Shu in the past round and hunt down lower your head and none dare attack. However, how could Xiao Shiken know that lower your head and none dare attack had just fallen for such a trap? This time, when they saw a formidable enemy, how could they so easily rush to stand out from everyone else? With both sides restraining themselves, the situation became somewhat messy. Boss, we're still not acting? Steam Bun had been silent for a long time and asked. There's no hurry. If this situation continues, we'll at least be able to complete our mission of helping Old Wei snipe his competitor. Doing nothing and completing a mission. How brilliant, Steam Bun exclaimed in admiration. Of course, Yi Shu said. His thoughts were obviously different from his conversation with Steam Bun. Right now, it was a test of who had more patience. With Xiao Shiken's experience and foresight, Yi Shu reckoned that if he really needed to be patient, he definitely would, but the question was, did his team really need to wait? His team consisted of 5 all-stars. Waiting and seeing was simply just to save some trouble, letting none dare attack and lower your head to help them hunt. If they were really afraid, then they would be laughed at. 5 pro players in a team afraid of 2 players that had stood out from the pack through an event? If someone claimed it, that wouldn't be considered cautious or careful, that would be considered crazy. So even though Excellent Era's team was being patient, Yi Shu didn't think they had no plans. As expected, they didn't wait for none dare attack and lower your head to act first. Excellent Era's team was too lazy to keep wasting their time. A notification announcing that a character from their team had picked up a stalking opened their first attack. They couldn't have made too many preparations during their previous period of silence. As soon as they started their attacks, they instantly swept half of the acquired stalkings on the field. They weren't like happy and endured patiently from time to time. They were a team that once reigned over glory. Being careful and meticulous facing some normal players would just be too shameful. Excellent Era's team continued to plunder stalkings, and the system continued to spawn new stalkings. Those without stalkings were fearless, but facing tyrannical strength, fearlessness didn't equate to victory. Yishu and Steamed Bun finally split up. They weren't looking for stalkings, but for players. Yishu wanted to know what Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were doing. No movements had come from them yet. Could they also be waiting? That would betray what Yishu knew, after coming across them. Yishu guessed that these two definitely wouldn't give up so easily. Perhaps they also wanted to be the siskin behind the prey. Using this guess, Yishu had a direction. If these two wanted to be siskins, they obviously needed to keep a careful watch on Excellent Era's movements. As for Excellent Era, they were attacking everywhere, following the movements of stalkings closely. After coming across a stalking, Yishu didn't have his listen promise pick it up. Instead, he found a hiding place and quietly hid, calling for Steamed Bun to come over. If a team came by and disturbed them, they would come out and kill them. This stalking became bait. Finally, Yishu saw who he wanted to see. One of the characters from Excellent Era's team, Battle Mage Footsteps in the Wind, wandered to this location alone. After seeing this stalking, he went to pick it up without any hesitation. His confidence showed. When Battle Mage Footsteps in the Wind picked up the 18th stalking, all 20 stalkings had finally spawned. 2 stalkings still hadn't been found yet. Among the acquired stalkings, Excellent Era's team had 16. As for the 2 that hadn't been found yet, Yishu actually discovered that this stalking had already fallen into Excellent Era's hands. However, to extend the amount of time to get a better total, they intentionally tossed the stalking aside. If you paid attention to the system notifications and the number of stalkings on a team, this method could easily be noticed. Excellent Era's strategy was actually very simply. With overwhelming strength, they used this method to prolong the amount of time for the event and fight for as many stalkings as possible. For them, how many stalkings they got simply depended on how much patience they had. 16 stalkings probably weren't enough for them to be satisfied, but at this moment, there were already players who responded. 2 figures suddenly came out from behind, forming a pincer attack onto Footsteps in the Wind. None Dare Attack. Lower Your Head. Chapter 909. Mechanical Seeker. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack appeared at a very serendipitous time. It was clear that they hadn't been facing this with a careful attitude. They had been lying in wait for the perfect time to strike. It was evident that these two weren't arrogant enough to believe that they could win against the 5 members of Excellent Era, so they had kept an eye on this lone wolf member of their party, finally decided to strike. Hey, I knew that you two were up to no good. I was getting impatient, waiting for you to act. The Battle Mage, Footsteps in the Wind, spoke up. The haughtiness in his voice made his identity as Sunshang obvious. This guy had long since noticed that the two were following him, but didn't find them worthy of his attention at all, still doing what he should and waiting for them to strike before dealing with them. We'll make you pay for underestimating us. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were very prideful as well. They could definitely tell that the player behind this character was Sun Shang, but they had no intentions of backing down. The tone of Sun Zhang's voice made it obvious that he didn't think them a threat, and that was something the two could not accept. They didn't hesitate to mount a vicious offense. The bullets that flew from the muzzles of their guns were like 2 beams, crisscrossing as they cut through the air towards Footsteps in the Wind. Sun Shang let out a haughty laugh. Footstep in the Wind suddenly moved, using an accurate Z-shake to dart between the 2 streams of bullets, taking advantage of the gaps between each shot. In an instant, he had closed in on None Dare Attack, who was on the right. Sun Zhang's finesse in his technique was beyond the two's expectations. They hadn't thought he'd be able to break through their pincer attack so easily, just by moving. None Dare Attack hurriedly jumped away, shooting as she prepared an aerial fire to pull away. Lower Your Head followed, running as she shot and continued to cooperate with None Dare Attack's attacks. However, even their stationary crisscrossing fire wasn't enough to suppress Sun Shang. They were currently in movement, making it harder, and lowering the effectiveness. Random firing. Under these dire circumstances, the two moved in sync with a single call from None Dare Attack, simultaneously activating random firing and instantly increasing the amount of bullets that they were shooting. With that, Sun Shang started to feel the pressure. He hadn't thought that the two could craft such a precise web with their firepower using such a hard-to-control technique. Not bad, seems like I'll actually have to take this seriously. Sun Shang had immediately been hit by a few bullets, finding an excuse as to why he was unable to dodge the net of bullets. Footsteps in the wind, swung his spear into a dragon breaks the ranks, charging through the suppressive fire without care for damage. He even suddenly changed targets as well, originally having been set on chasing down None Dare Attack, he suddenly did a double take and charged towards Lower Your Head with his dragon breaks the ranks. However, the two weren't close and Lower Your Head wasn't so slow at reacting either. By the time Footsteps in the Wind had arrived, spear in hand, Lower Your Head jumped back quickly, tossing a grenade at Footsteps in the Wind. But Sun Jiang's hands were very fast and precise. Footsteps in the Wind swung out with his spear, using Furious Dragon Strikes the Heart. As it stabbed and destroyed the hand grenade in midair, its momentum didn't slow, flying towards Lower Your Head. Seeing this, Lower Your Head knew that this strike wasn't something she could dodge with simple movement. She couldn't cling onto the gunner idea of distance yourself either. Lower Your Head decisively lowered her body, sliding under Footsteps in the Wind with a slide kick. Not only did this not distance her from Footsteps in the Wind, but it brought her closer of her own initiative. This move was courageous, but not particularly unexpected. Footsteps in the Wind suddenly jumped up to avoid the attack. It was evident that Sun Shang had been on guard against this possibility already. At this moment, the airborne Footsteps in the Wind suddenly flipped, head below feet and spear in one hand. His body pivoted abruptly, spinning as he descended. Lower Your Head's slide kick hit thin air, her figure halfway in movement and about to jump up to pursue Footsteps in the Wind. She was completely caught off guard by such a sudden attack. Lower Your Head couldn't be blamed for being caught so off guard. Even if it were Yi Shu, it would be a new experience. Dragon Flight. This was a new, powerful level 75 technique for battle mages. Even the experienced Yi Shu wouldn't know a lot about this technique. On the other hand, Sun Shang was a player specializing in the battle mage class. As soon as his character reached level 75, he began to look into the new skills made available by Glory. This dragon flight was something he had played out in his head in all sorts of different ways. The current Lower Your Head had become a lab rat for testing out this skill in actual combat. Speaking of, with excellent era in the Challenger League, a lab rat of Lower Your Head's caliber was hard to come by. This drilling attack didn't only strike with the tip of the spear. The energy brought about by the spinning of the character erupted with the last stab, bringing on a swirl of air that kicked up snow and dirt that made it hard to see the two characters. None Dare Attack, anxious to come to Lower Your Head's help, couldn't even see her target. She could only shoot randomly at the tornado of energy. If she could hit or not all depended on her luck. The whirl of energy dispersed quickly and the two characters became clear soon enough. Footsteps in the Wind stood pridefully, holding his spear in one hand as Lower Your Head dangled from the end. Seeing this scene, Lower Your Head seemed to have lost terribly, hanging from her opponent's weapon as if a sign of his victory. However, Yi Shu knew that this was just a continuation of Footsteps in the Wind's attack, a dragon tooth that stabbed at the airborne Lower Your Head. So, at the moment of impact, it looked like Lower Your Head had been impaled, dangling from the spear. Footsteps in the Wind quickly retracted his spear, and Lower Your Head didn't fall immediately, but was hung, suspended in the air for a moment. It was obvious that it was an upwards attack that had caused this suspension. Go, Sun Shang yelled, thrusting out a falling flower palm and throwing Lower Your Head out, right at None Dare Attack. Then, his Footsteps in the Wind used Lower Your Head as cover to swiftly run forward. None Dare Attack moved to the side to get a better view and raised her guns to shoot. Footsteps in the Wind darted left and right, and soon enough None Dare Attack was within his attack range. His spear swung out at her, but when he stepped out, Sun Shang suddenly noticed something strange underfoot, getting Footsteps in the Wind to look down and take a look. A mechanical seeker was climbing towards his legs. Sun Shang was shocked. It wasn't that this skill was particularly scary, it was just that he hadn't noticed these two using this skill at all. The direction of his spear swerved, destroying the small machine on the ground. However, none dare attack took advantage of this tiny opening. At such a close distance, she still chose to shoot, and with a headstrong skill like Gatling gun, too. The heavy machine gun whipped out was practically pressed up against Footsteps in the Wind's chest, and a stream of bullets was fired wildly. No matter how strong Sun Xiang was, he couldn't avoid such a close attack. Footsteps in the Wind was blown back by the stream of bullets from Gatling gun. None dare attack didn't linger to savor the effects of this attack. Gatling gun might be a cathartic skill, it was still a low-level skill. It would be a waste if they used this chance to simply fire such a low-leveled attack. After blasting Footsteps in the Wind by several units, none dare attack cancelled the skill quickly, putting the heavy machine gun away, sniper rifle already in hand. A single gunshot rang out. This sort of distance, this sort of timing, none dare attack didn't even need to aim, firing as soon as the gun was raised, striking a headshot. Sun Xiang obviously hadn't expected that his countering of that small mechanical seeker would cause so much trouble for himself. Thunder snipe, that wasn't a skill with low damage. He never expected another gunshot after taking that headshot. Lower Your Head, who had been sent flying by the falling flower palm, had already landed and, seeing the chance given to her, raised her sniper rifle without even fully getting up and scored another shot right after none dare attacks. 2 headshots. Footsteps in the Wind's health and Sun Jiang's heart jumped. He couldn't let his guard down again. Sun Xiang warned himself like that, but Lower Your Head and none dare attack took this chance after the 2 snipes to start a stream of shots again. They didn't try to pull away this time, but take the initiative to close in on him. The 2 had realized, against a creme la creme expert like Sun Xiang, always trying to distance yourself wasn't a good idea. They did need to keep a distance, but how much distance was the question. Because of how skilled these top experts were, too much distance meant more time for them to react and move, making all their attacks futile. So against a top expert, distance wasn't always a good thing. You had to stay within a certain range. That was the only way to assure your effectiveness. Pulling away wasn't just for escaping, but to defeat their opponent. The 2 who had suddenly been enlightened didn't retreat, but pressed forwards instead, closing in on Footsteps in the Wind as they attacked. This action caused Sun Xiang to scramble to react. Bullets flying over from such a close distance, and coming from 2 characters as well, it wasn't possible to dodge them all like he had done before. Even if he dodged the first shot, the second would soon follow suit, dodge the second, and the third would arrive even quicker. That was why at this moment, the one who wanted distance themselves wasn't the 2 gunners, but Sun Jiang's battle mage. Eventually, he managed to take advantage of a slip-up in Lower Your Head and none dare attack's cooperation, jumping backwards quickly to get out of trouble. Who would have expected that just as he landed from the second jump, that he would step on a small mechanical seeker and was immediately thrown forward by the explosion. F***CK? Who the hell? Sun Xiang immediately yelled out. Currently, Lower Your Head and none dare attack were both in front of him and he could see their attacks clearly. Neither of them had used a mechanical seeker. Someone must be messing with him from the shadows. As Footsteps in the Wind was pushed back by the impact of the explosion, he completed a 360 degrees turn in midair, showing Sun Jiang's immense hand speed. However, he had found nothing in his look around, landing back in range of Lower Your Head and none dare attack's close and clustered web of firepower suppression. Despicable, Sun Xiang cursed at the 2. Cursing at people just because you can't beat them? Is that what the professionalism of gods is like? Lower Your Head and none dare attack were enraged, too, immediately retorting. Can't beat you 2? F***CK, you 2 really are shameless, Sun Xiang yelled. Die. The 2 girls attacked even more furiously. Footsteps in the Wind was no longer in the control of Sun Xiang after being blasted by Mechanical Seeker, and despite his fury, he was put to an end by the 2 girls. What kind of person, really? Lower Your Head and none dare attack weren't delighted upon defeating their opponent, but were rather just angry. Me, yet someone actually answered them. The 2 were shocked, only to see a brawler throw a fistful of sand over. The 2 subconsciously turned their views to avoid it, only to see a string of system announcements. Not good. The 2 yelled simultaneously. Chapter 910. Now I can be at ease. Lower Your Head and none dare attack turned around hastily. At the same time, they each threw out a grenade towards where Footsteps in the Wind had just died. The dropped stockings should be there. Those guys who suddenly popped up must be moving towards that position to pick up the stockings. 2 gunshots followed, and the 2 grenades exploded while still in mid-air. An automatic pistol in a mechanic's hand let out wisps of smoke. That mechanic put away his pistol and quickly collected all of the stockings on the ground. Lower your head and none dare attack were shocked. The distance between the two sides wasn't far. It could even be considered close, but when the two threw out their grenades simultaneously, both grenades were blasted apart by the mechanic. Even if automatic pistols had the highest attack speed among all the guns, shooting down 2 grenades in succession during such a short amount of time definitely wasn't a feat a normal player could accomplish. Lower your head and none dare attack were both gunners. When they considered if they could do it, they weren't 100% confident. However, this person didn't stop after shooting the 2 grenades and picked up the stockings. Everything had been calculated. Mechanic. The mechanical box hanging around this character's waist revealed his class. Lower your head and none dare attack immediately thought of one name, Shao Shiken. If that player was a god, then those precise attacks wouldn't too surprising. However, the name above the mechanic's head clearly showed that he wasn't Shao Shiken. When they saw the brawler standing next to him, they immediately recalled a certain duo. This duo was the other 2-player team besides them. Lower your head and none dare attack hadn't thought much of this team, but both were 2-player teams, so with neither side having any stockings, the scoreboard placed them next to each other regardless. When they checked the rankings, they had an impression of the names of these 2 insignificant characters. They looked at their names more closely. Weren't these 2 that duo? It had only taken an instant for Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack to go from shock to recognizing those 2 players, but the extraordinary hand speed of those 2 players showed. The stockings dropped by footsteps in the wind had actually been picked clean in an instant. The number of stockings dropped wasn't small because a string of system notifications appeared. It wasn't something that could be counted at just a glance. Those 2 players picked up the stockings and ran like the wind. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack weren't willing to let the matter drop and repeatedly fired their guns at the 2. Wow! How awesome! Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack didn't know who said those words because the 2 were running and hiding. The 2 quickly checked the rankings to see how many stockings those 2 players had picked up. 8. Sun Zhang's footsteps in the wind had carried half of Team Excellent Era's stockings, but he was caught by an ambush from Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack. He was still waiting angrily to revive. When he looked at the string of system notifications, he noticed that his stockings hadn't picked up by those 2 gunners. They're together, Sun Shang explained furiously to his teammates. If losing those stockings were painful, then losing those stockings in front of his teammates was clearly 100 times more painful to him. First, those 2 sharpshooters challenged me directly, then the other 2 hiding in the dark stole the stockings. Sun Shang gnashed his teeth. Too despicable, the other Excellent Era players sighed. As for whether or not they were sincere, only they themselves really knew. Shao Shiken refused to comment. He checked the names of those 2 players from the system announcements and searched for them on the team rankings. Then, he realized, I say, they might be Orioles lurking from behind. Orioles lurking from behind? Look, Shao Shiken explained patiently to Sun Shang, those 8 stockings were picked clean by those 2. Even if the 2 sides made some sort of agreement, in that instant, those 2 became hostile. They really are despicable, Sun Shang shouted. Since the stockings are all on those 2, then it makes taking them back that much easier for us, Shao Shiken said. Do you have the coordinates for where you fought with them? Oh, I have it. Sun Shang wasn't completely stupid. Head out, Shao Shiken called out to everyone. After knowing the coordinates, they had a rough idea of where those 2 might be. Shao Shiken and the others split up and began searching for Yishu's and Steamed Bun's whereabouts. As for Sun Zhang's footsteps in the wind, after 20 seconds, he revived and rushed furiously towards that area. A battle was taking place in that area. With 2 gunners participating, the place was filled with smoke. Under the pursuit of Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack, Yishu and Steamed Bun had no way of escaping cleanly. They could only go back and fight. Mechanics and summoners had quite a few similarities, but also a few differences. Mechanics had the long-range control capabilities of summoners as well as powerful individual strength. After all, many of the mechanical tools used were to strengthen the mechanic, unlike summoners who completely relied on summons to battle. Mechanics were a class with many different playing styles. With skills such as mechanical punch and drill attack, their close combat abilities were also quite impressive. However, Yi Shu's listen promise didn't go and practice his taijutsu against those two sharpshooters. He used the traditional mechanic playing style, using long-ranged mechanical tools to attack his opponents, while frequently using rotor wings and rocket propeller to move faster. Not long afterwards, Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack began realizing the severity of the situation. The other side was no less skilled than they were. The two had yet to recover from their battle with Sun Shang. Now, they had come across two skilled enemies. An evenly matched battle would end up in their loss. What's worse was that they couldn't suppress the enemy mechanic. In fact, his playstyle of spamming airdrops and mechanical seekers was extremely annoying. In addition, that brawler was no joke either. All sorts of sudden and dirty tricks like bricks, Molotov cocktail, inject poison came up, making it difficult to defend against. Let's retreat first. After the two talked to each other for a bit, they made this decision, unlike the vast majority of players who refused to give up because they had nothing to lose. For this ambitious duo, dying and then waiting to revive was fatal to their leaderboard rankings. A target with 8 stockings had appeared in their line of sight. If they died, they would need to search for them again. How could that be so easy? They couldn't beat them, so they withdrew. The two felt like that would be very easy. They didn't have any stockings, while the other two had 8 stockings on them. The two immediately relaxed their attacks, intentionally leaving gaps. If they retreated, the two didn't need to run away in a hurry. The other side had no need to fight with them, so if they left some openings to let the other side escape, it should be more than enough. Who would have thought that as soon as an opening appeared, not only did the other side not retreat, they treated this opening as a huge mistake. They're crazy. The two were shocked at their opponent's abnormal decision. This opening left them with no retreat. Now their opponents had grasped this opportunity and turned it into a match point. Haha, having learned the mistakes from those before me, I think it's more reliable to just send you back to the revival point, Yi Shu said. His mechanic listen promise had charged at them full force under the protection of the airdrops and mechanical seeker. This was the craziest form of attack for mechanics. They stopped becoming control characters like summoners, turning their own body into weapons instead and entering combat along with other tools. Drill attack. Listen Promise waved his left hand and attached a machine from his mechanical box onto his arm. Then, his drill bit spun rapidly. His character also shot forward rapidly. It was an attack from 3 sides. Steamed Bun's rain had come to pincer them as well. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were beaten up. One was caught by the airdrop's explosion. The other was strangled by Steamed Bun. Then, Listen Promise's mechanical punch struck. Blood flew out incessantly. Following afterwards, Rain used the level 75 brawler skill, Street Riot. Lower Your Head wanted to rescue her partner and nearly got caught up in the attack too. Without any way out, she could only do her best. Lower Your Head directly closed in, attacking while using sharpshooter taijutsu skills. Gun Fu. Not bad, Yi Shu praised in astonishment. Gun Fu wasn't the name of a skill, rather it was when a sharpshooter engaged in taijutsu and didn't only rely on taijutsu, but also blended in sharpshooter gun attacks as well. This playstyle didn't sound very complex, but in reality, combining gun arts and taijutsu together to engage in melee range, yet able to produce such high DPS was absolutely a pro level already. When normal players tried, they could at best increase their damage output by a few %. When Lower Your Head's Gun Fu came out, Yi Shu could tell with a few glances that it was quite impressive. This girl certainly possessed the skills to be a pro. But it's still a bit lacking. His mechanic, Listen Promise, suddenly sprouted rotor wings and flew high into the air. Not waiting for Lower Your Head to retaliate, he fell back down. This escape and attack, rise and fall, disrupted Lower Your Head's rhythm. It wasn't a serious mess-up, but for Yi Shu, it was more than enough. When Listen Promise landed back down again, under the cover of a grenade, he stealthily threw a Mechanical Seeker robot onto the ground. Mechanical Seeker's damage wasn't very high, but it had a low cooldown. Mechanics would practically maintain 1 or even 2 to 3 Mechanical Seekers throughout the entire battle. But Lower Your Head didn't notice it and continued firing at Listen Promise. Explosion. Gunfire. Neither side retreated and began fighting to the death. However, Yi Shu had only started trading blows after disrupting Lower Your Head's rhythm. What's more, his Listen Promise had more health. How could he lose? Lower your head and none dare attack finally fell. They were gloomy and sullen after their deaths, especially when they heard the other side express his gratitude after killing them. Now I can finally be at ease.